Hey there, welcome to White Women Wake Up. I'm Karen.
And I'm Jonelle.
Each week, one of us brings a topic to the table, something we've been wrestling with, reading about, or noticing in our own lives.
And the other reacts in real time. No scripts, no prep, just honest conversations between a mother and daughter duo spanning generations about what it means to wake up as white women in a world shaped by bias, power, and inherited patterns.
We don't always agree, and it's not always comfortable, but we show up anyways.
Yes, we do. Let's wake up.
Hi. Hey, Jonelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been doing a lot of reflecting, but part of my reflection from last week on this idea of accepting people.
Yes.
I realized I must have been in a mood of acceptance because all of a sudden I was really tempted this week not to accept people.
Oh.
I was kind of embarrassed by it, but it made me really think about, it's sometimes easy when we come into these conversations because I've done some prep work, You've done some prep work. So we're kind of feeling good about where we stand in this story. But I realized to accept people, there's a lot of background work. It's a lot. So I did some thinking around it that I'm going to introduce in a future segment. So since it's your topic today, I'll let you kind of move forward. But anyways, that's kind of what I was thinking about.
I mean, I think give yourself grace in this. Like, we're just riding, we have daylight savings that have just hit us. We're in the great dark, as they call it in Seattle. I mean, today is a beautiful day, but it has been a lot of, early nights, a lot of darkness again. Give yourself grace. And we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, because it was hard. Yeah.
I hope I'm not one of the people that you can accept.
No. It wasn't that, there wasn't really anyone in particular that I didn't feel like I was accepting. It was more like reflecting on accepting circumstances, accepting situations. And so it kind of opened a lot of wounds in a weird way. And I realized, oh my gosh, there's just a lot of pre-work that has to happen before you accept someone. So, but again, that's a future conversation.
No. I love how you're laying the ground for next week.
Yeah.
My reflection, I was going to do a different reflection, but kind of going off of what you're saying about, I think it's this time of year, darkness. It's a little, I've also been having these moments of, I don't want to say self-doubt, that's not the right word, or moments. There's just been some fleeting moments of longing or maybe scarcity mindset that we talk about. And it's interesting. I think a lot of these moments have come from my past of corporate America or a longing for dream or just all of this stuff that I've found myself lately when I'm in again, and most of the time it's been dark and rainy. When it's been dark and rainy, there'll be a moment I'll see something on social media or something that will make me think, I wish I was living that life. And then the reality is I've actually really crafted the life that I've wanted to live for a very long time. And so it's interesting. I have to remind myself in the moments, what am I talking about? I am no longer in those spaces where I'm dreaming about getting out of this or doing this. Outside of, I still need to figure out some income and figure out that. And there's, some instability there. For the most part, the life that I've built is really the fruition of so many dreams that I have had in the past. And so, anyways, kind of going on what you're saying, I think there is something about this time of year, or there's something about wanting, it's hard to accept when you're always wanting something next.
Yeah.
And so I've had to really remind myself, what am I wanting next? I'm really, for today, I'm being provided everything I've asked for. And
it is about staying in the moment and being present.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
good reflection. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Nels.
You kind of led me into that one. Okay. So today I want to talk about movies.
Movies. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I love to talk about movies.
Going into about movies. And so for the audience context, where this is kind of coming up is this last year, I decided to do, instead of a New Year's resolution, I did what I call New Year's bingo. And it's really fun and it's silly. And, you take a bingo board and you put all these different kind of goals you have for the year. Some are big, some are silly. But for me, at least, it was a way to take away of the pressure of a New Year's goal and then really just kind of like outline some things that I want to accomplish for the year. And again, some I may, some I not. But on this list,
you're accomplishing a lot, though.
Thank you. I know. Yeah. Well, again, I think it's easier for me that it's not one big scary goal. Like it's a bunch of little things, some big, some small. But one of them was watch 10 classic movies. And now the definition of classic movies was very loose. It could be a cult classic. It could be classic, just basically 10 movies that people love that I had never seen before. And so I completed my 10 movies last weekend.
Yay!
The last movie I watched was, I know, thank you, goal completed. The last movie I watched was The Goonies. I had never seen The Goonies
Which I think is a funny one as a classic movie.
Yeah, again, it was a very loose definition of classic movie. Pulp Fiction was on this. I'd never seen Pulp Fiction, but I had also seen like Roman Holiday, Casablanca, Thelma and Louise, a whole gamut of movies that I'd never seen before. And where this is coming up, this is also stemming a little bit from the conversation that a reflection I had either last week or the week before in the podcast about, Benjamin Franklin and him cheating on his wife and kind of this view that we've had of women of the past. This view that, oh my gosh, they were such simps. They were, It's so
funny. What does the word simp mean?
Yes. So simp is kind of, God, I don't know. I feel awful. Every Gen Z, Gen Alpha out there is going to judge me. Not that we probably have a lot of those listening. But it's basically like it's someone who's like really obsessed with the person there. Like it's kind of like unrequited love a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Like they're a little overly loving when the person isn't really giving love back.
Oh, when the person's not giving love back.
Yeah, or they might be, but not to the same extent.
Yeah.
So this person's really
So you're being a simp if you're showing outward love, but you're to this person that's indifferent.
And they could even be a partner, but they just don't show you the same type of love.
Yeah.
So in that reflection, we talked about like Benjamin Franklin cheating on his wife and my friend talking about how his wife wrote all these like lovey-dovey letters to them. And the reflection I had was, that is the narrative we've been told time and time again. So that is what we believe, that women are these simple, lovey-dovey creatures who are delusional about men cheating on them, kind of thing. And so that, as that had been sitting in my brain, this stemmed to then the same tropes I was seeing in these movies. And stuff. And it was so like, none of these movies could truly hold up. I mean, they had great plots. I watched Psycho.
Yeah.
Very interesting plot. But the tropes of characters that we build, even the Goonies. The Goonies was a very diverse cast, but every person of color, every heavier person, every person with a disability, every woman was a trope of that.
Of that person. Kind of like, I'm enamored, I'm not really thinking, I'm just into whatever you say, I'll do.
Yes, or like the nerdy Asian guy or the lazy, hungry, fat guy and stuff. And it really made me start to wonder about how that has truly shaped our society as a whole.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what has been sitting on my mind. I would love your initial thoughts. And
I don't think we can, even ignore that. Even to the opposite side where, we look at a lot of movies where they make the man the bro and he's like the stupid frat boy guy. No, it goes, these tropes are actually really fascinating, Jonelle, where I know Janelle's looking at me like, are you kidding me? But so
keep going.
I'm just saying that
you have your right to your opinion.
I'm saying that, well, we had this conversation the other day where like one of the things you were talking about was the male figure, often the male figures in your life have been much more sympathetic or not kinder, but they haven't like fit in the stereotype of maleness that you've seen. And so we do see tropes in movies where the guy's got to be the frat boy and he's got to be cool and tough and the girl has to be this simple one and just show love. Okay. But did I take it
why do we always have to take it again to, woe is the white man?
I'm not saying woe is the white man.
But you did a little bit.
What I am saying is that these tropes And we are talking about movies and culture and these cultural
statistically,
tropes.
the tropes are much more harmful to everyone but white men.
Yeah. But
so this is my point.
Okay.
So I brought up the whole gamut of probably about a giant population of people that tropes are harmful to. And then you still brought up the small portion of how it affects white men too.
Yeah. Okay, but
I mean, and that's fine. That is your opinion to have.
I know.
I don't think it's the right opinion.
Well, no, it is my opinion, but it is one of the opinions. I mean, you can look at that. And so, anyways, go on. Get back to your point.
I actually kind of want to go back on this. Before we go back to my point, can we step back, though, is that this type of dialogue, I don't think is uncommon.
Yeah.
But is the continual harm of why we then don't focus on what needs to be fixed. We always go back to focusing on, the whole, it hurts everyone.
Yeah.
But does it really hurt the white men to the same extent? Like, do we really, this is kind of the, all lives matter situation. Yeah, all lives matter.
I think it has dumbed down some of our male population. And let me flip this around. Why I think it has hurt? Because it's allowed men to be unresponsible to the feelings of women, to the feelings of others. They've gotten off the hook by just being goofy and a frat boy. And they've gotten off the hook by just doing silly actions. And so as if those actions are okay to do. It's a real negative.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
That I completely agree with. But I think just the way that you framed this response was, again, more in the same level of a victim.
You're surprised I didn't bring up the trope of women. And you're right, it's huge.
Because in my mind, that's kind of like patriarchy. Men are not, what is the right word? They definitely are harmed by patriarchy, but they are also the ones who have built patriarchy.
Yes.
They're part of the system. So in my mind, that's kind of the same thing as men built this. So of the 250 top films, only 16% of them were female directors.
Well, that's really
so this is what I'm saying. So men are building that stereotype for men.
Yeah.
That's my point.
That's even scary when you think about it that way.
That's my point. They're harming themselves. And so this
Okay, start.
No, but I
back.
think that's a very...
Well, I think the thing is, I guess where my mind was going is when you're talking about the language of simp, or like when they're putting, like, you use that as kind of a framework of, you set up a couple things in this discussion. You set up Benjamin Franklin and his wife actually writing these love letters in a relationship because we perceived it that she was actually not being strategic. When in fact, if we actually look at it, she may have been very, very smart.
The odds are.
And the odds are because she knew if she did not keep his loyalty, that she would be out of really pretty much everything, economics, status. And so this alignment with Benjamin Franklin was really, really important. And yet we, quote unquote, see it as like unrequited love, like you were talking about.
Or she's an idiot.
She's an idiot because she's got this guy having an affair and she's pretending not to notice and just sends his love letters.
And then we've moved to, then the next step in the world was, women are smart enough, but now they're using men for their money is the thing. Like there's these continuous...
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Well, I just added that part. I didn't get to it yet. And so, but there's these continual tropes that have evolved. Like I could see it from Casablanca needing the man to even the Goonies. The woman was a little bit more empowered, like the female character's a little bit more empowered to choose the guy she wants, but yet still they showed her falling into his arms. There was a picture of her underwears or skirt kind of stuck up. So like they're progressions of women as independents, but really they're still being used as tools for men.
Oh,
majority of these movies. And so, but kind of going on what you're saying of like, they've also had men be bros, and has it dumbed down? Or like, I wanted to start looking at have we seen a transition in society as we've seen more and more female directors, as we've seen, does it even make a difference? That's kind of my point. And so I learned some new theories. So one is called cultivation theory. And this is the idea that long-term exposure to media shapes viewers' perception of reality.
Yeah.
And then it's also parasocial contact. The relationship viewers develop with media characters can influence their attitudes towards everyday life. And so these are two very strong theories about how we become very attached to the association of media versus real life.
Yeah.
And so
can I interrupt that for a second? I think it was so interesting with 2020, when we all had to get onto Zoom. So talk about prior to 2020, the access to people's homes or the access to the people's interiors was very, very different, because I never saw inside Ellen DeGeneres' house unless it was in a magazine, right? Then all of a sudden, when 2020 happened, we started seeing these character or these movie people or these people that we were interested in, or we saw people with other things, people on the margins where they lived in their homes and different things. And it changed our media, our visual perception of all different people. And I think 2020 was a real reckoning of what that was, Well,
and I think that's such a great point, too, because they have talked about, the transition of having shows of showing that, LGBTQ characters being, the main protagonists in shows have drastically, lowered people's prejudice towards LGBTQ.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting in society, we haven't had enough of, people of color in middle upper class houses to help white people kind of see
Well, I think, though,
the sameness. But this is my point about your Zoom call is, and it sounds awful to say, but the inherited prejudice of seeing coworkers of another race and seeing that their homes are similar to your white coworkers, seeing that every day, to your point, I think.
But wasn't that one of the reasons we kind of started this podcast? Because, so one of the things that I think I became really aware of, and especially as the media, the books, the podcasts, everything I was consuming was actually predominantly white male or male, and not female driven, or it may have been female, but it was definitely white female. And so one of the things that we were talking about, you and I, was looking at different media. So for example, if we watched BET or predominantly Black stations or Black or Latino, we would be seeing these houses that were not characterized by our media, by the white dominant media. And I think that that's part of what, or if we watched more Black, movies or movies driven by a diverse cast, we would see different places and spaces that you're talking about.
Well, and I think the secondary is more important, is integrating all of that into everyday media. I think there is totally a right for people to want to have BET to exist, all of that, but you're not going to gain but I think what I'm asking for is for white media to be more inclusive and us to start looking at that. And so I think one thing that's interesting is there are, I think in the past, a lot of female directors and a lot of, it's how do you capture, I hate to say it, this white audience or this male audience without feeling attacked. And now there's a show called Kevin Can F Himself on Netflix, which I think is a brilliant show, but it is definitely a show that I think women would understand. Men might feel attacked. A little bit like the Barbie movie, not every man understood it. But I did recently watch a show called All Her Fault, and which I thought was a beautiful show of subtlety. Now, the ending, but it was a mystery show. So it's going to gain the following of men and women of all types. And they did a beautiful job. The director did an amazing job, 2 female directors, of the subtleties of the mental load between men and women in the household. And what they did, at least initially, was they painted all of these guys as good, nice guys, but showing, instead of painting them as awful people who then were like lacking in this. They really showed the normalities of like, these are just normal guys who are adding to the mental load. And so it's also what kind of made me start thinking of like, how many shows can we get that shows a little bit more normalcy of what is in our everyday life? And can we now, 2 generations from now, finally have guys who are seeing the difference, who are naturally moving towards the difference? And so that was also a lot of like, what?
Can I analyze that?
Yes, I would love for you to
First of all, I saw the graphic image of that show because you've been recognizing a show.
So good.
I don't think it's going to attract men. I think your challenge is, and I think here's the bigger challenge is I understand that you're desiring to change tropes. I mean, this has been an issue on media forever, getting more people with diversity, getting more people with, you know, that are dealing with physical disabilities, dealing with more people that have, you know, that are just not in that kind of standard category. And unfortunately, as our media is getting more segmented, it is actually going more and more towards what we're interested in. In fact, you're reminding me again, when we first started this podcast, I had created an intention of trying to watch shows out of my mainstream media, out of my algorithm, right? Like I like murder mystery night, you know, type of thing. I haven't been doing that. Now, I've been reading a lot of books. I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts, but maybe we need to start a new Instagram where we say, look at these different shows. Look at where people from the margins are part of the story.
Well, and this wasn't even about people on the margins, to be honest.
No, this is just about a trope that is a little bit more authentic.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a trope. This is more an authentic
male-female relationship.
But tied into a mystery. But you're so right. I was more focused on that this is totally like a mystery that guys will like. It'll be like, you know, it's not. But you were right by that cover. It's not going to attract them. It's not the action-packed.
In fact, this is how tough it's gotten with media. One of the things that I had read in media right now is more movies, box office movies, are going towards the Marvel space, the big, you know, show box, you know, action-packed space, because they know that they're going to get men and women watching those shows probably more than they're going to get dramatic love stories, maybe even.
Isn't that sad? It's because they know the woman will go to Marvel. And the
and that's also stereotyping, as if women are going to like Marvel. But the thing is, what you're talking about is maybe you're talking about narratives or stories that need to be embedded in a space so that we start hearing these diverse sides.
Well, here's another point, and I kind of disagree with that. I think that has been always the industry's MO, like you said. I mean, and I'm not saying women can't like Marvel, but they do statistically, you know, drive towards men. Barbie, though. Barbie was a blockbuster hit. And it was one of the first times that it was truly a movie geared towards a very different audience.
And it was exciting as a woman to go to that audience. Like, I loved that scene where they take Barbie and bring him from stage to stage, because I thought that's what it means to understand the cues. I used to do that as a child all the time. And or move her down the house. And it's like, oh, this movie gets me. And so it did make me think how many movies that are predominantly male, that have a different trope, as we're talking, that might have a different focus that I might not have gotten because it's not part of my own normative, my points of view or my understanding of my space. I don't know. You know, I think.
I mean, I'm not asking.
No, sir. I think one of the things is having critical discourse around these subjects, because I think you're absolutely right. Like, when we like the fact that you even noticed that these tropes constantly were about the simp, right? And putting people in a less than position rather than adult to adult, that's a challenge.
Well, but I think
child to child.
I mean, I guess like it's really obvious once you see it. I think, and once you know so much about there's a great podcast, I don't remember the name, but basically this wife is trying to pink pill, is what she calls it. It might even be called pink pilling.
Don't even know.
Pink pilling her husband. And
what is pink pill?
Well, instead of red pill, we talked about red pill before,
I know.
where red pill is like these guys going down to like these, these male loneliness epidemics are like just really going down the rabbit hole of, of just
feeling lonely.
Well, lonely, but also just like hating women, the whole.
Yeah.
And so pink pilling has kind of been the joke, the opposite of like giving these guys facts around women. Like women couldn't get credit cards until 1974 on their own.
So the pink pill is the fact.
Yeah. So every episode is more kind of like, a fun fact on like, do you know how much women spend on, tampons a year or, whatever. And most of the time the husband being like shocked by this because he never.
And yet I think people like to know.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that I haven't watched that show or that TikTok, whatever episode you're looking at, but I have a podcast. I have a feeling the husband actually is proud that they're engaging in the conversation and astonished that they didn't know. That there's actually like all of us, I want to know things and I don't want to be in the dark on things. And so why are we assuming that people aren't interested in
anyway, but that's more my point of when I was talking about like this with my friends about Benjamin Franklin and his wife, and it's just a guess. I don't know. She could have also been head over heels in love, but it again really created this almost like snowball effect of all the media I've encountered since then and everything to really see like, oh, wow. And there's even subtleties in all of these movies. A lot of them aren't overtly awful. They're just subtleties, but how those subtleties build time and time again. And how can we switch the subtleties to be something a little bit more accurate or nurturing or like positive to kind of thing? I mean, I think I brought the study up before, but I now have an actual like data around this. The Fox News CNN study that do you remember this study?
Yeah, kind of, but go on.
Okay, so these researchers, Brockman and Kalla, paid about 1,000 Fox viewers to watch CNN for 30 days. And just after 1 month, the beliefs and the positions significantly changed from previous. So like, for example, there was, mishandling of COVID, their beliefs changed. 26% of the participations completely changed their beliefs on COVID and the misinformation on COVID. And so there's just continuing and they also changed their positions on a lot of gender stereotypes, race stereotypes, all of that stuff. And that was just 30 days of switching media. And so I think it's just interesting, what is 60 years, 30 some years, what are all of media telling us slight things? What has that done to our brain and how we see people? And that's kind of really what's been sitting with me.
Well, it's funny that you should say that because I'm having my class look at the recent ad campaign by the Department of Labor.
Oh,
it's all basic. They're saying it's coming from Grant. What is it? Oh, Norman Rockwell, which unfortunately it really is not. That's when people don't know style, right? Because the style is different. But it is all very white gendered. Yeah. It very is more from an Aryan nation than it really is anything else.
Exactly.
So I'm having my students look at that because I want them to say, hey, do you see your face in these? Because this is not what our labor looks like in the United States anymore.
Well, it's like did you hear about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle jeans situation? This happened a couple months ago, but Sydney Sweeney, who is a blonde white actress, she did a campaign with American Eagle about she has good genes. And there were only white people in it, and so it was it's come brought up in the news because she recently was interviewed by GQ asking if she had a perspective on it, and she basically ignored that questioning. But again, it continues to even the subtleties of it. I know. Okay,
but
a lot of people will say it's not subtle. But a lot of people will say it is.
I think you're hitting on a really good point, because one of the things that we're trying to do in this podcast is talk about our biases. She probably didn't even think about it.
Well,
she probably went in and thought it was a good gig. I'm going to be able to model for American Eagle.
And she likes jeans.
And then she likes jeans. And so then innocently, she did not, well, we're giving her the benefit of the doubt, but the reality is we do need to be thinking about what are the messages we're putting out there.
And what are the messages we're taking in. So again, I think a lot of people would say, oh, that's not that big of a deal, like the oversight. But I think, as I said to a friend the other day, who we were discussing something about the workplace and psychological safety, and he said, I think you're overthinking my comment. And I said, I think you're underthinking it.
Yeah, that was good.
And I think this is so oftentimes it's easier for us to sweep things under the rug because they don't affect us, or it's just too much to think about. And this stuff is heavy, and it is a lot to think about. But I mean, that is some drastic data on how much it affects us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with you. I think maybe the reflection for next week, or the thinking for next week, is if something feels a little off in the media that you're consuming, don't underthink it. Think it. Be conscious. Bring it to your consciousness, and think about, is this really portraying the reality that we live in today in the United States? So.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you so much for joining us on White Women Wake Up. We hope today's conversation sparks something in you, whether it's reflection, a new question, or deeper commitment to showing up with empathy and accountability. If you found this episode meaningful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can connect with us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Substack, or whitewomenwakeup.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love for you to join our community. Please keep this conversation going. And everyone, we're almost finished with season 1.
I know.
This is our third to last episode of season 1, and then we will be kicking off season 2 soon. So again, please share with people who you know would think would benefit from this. Love to hear it. And just engage with us. We really enjoy everyone we've talked to, and we want to just keep waking up together. So bye.
Bye. Thank you. Hey, Jonelle, you look like a little, hair, glasses. I love it.
Wow. That is just helping everyone's self-esteem.
You look adorable.
Thank you.
No hair.
You said no hair. Does that sound like a positive affirmation? You look like you have no hair.
Oh my gosh. Okay.